Welcome to Between Two Pastries. This is Nicole.
Hey everyone, it's Annie.
Today we have two amazing guests. They own Synchrony PT. Welcome, Carrie and Kathy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Nice to be here.
Yay. Nice to meet you
Yeah.
guys.
So we wanted to have these two lovely women on the show for various reasons. First and foremost, supporting women-owned businesses. What? This is wonderful. Love this. But I had the pleasure of having coffee with Carrie actually a few weeks back, and we just had a lovely conversation. I thought, I need to have these two on the show because physical therapy is such an important piece to really anybody. You don't have to be an athlete
No.
to need physical therapy because of the fact that we all are walking around with some form of imbalance at some point. So it's just a really good subject to kind of talk about. So
Well, and
go ahead and
Nicole, I was
yeah,
telling you before we popped on here just how PTs are one of the very, very few fields in the medical profession that feel a need to talk about nutrition to everyone and then tell people the wrong things.
yeah,
PTs who actually give, talk about nutrition actually say the right things.
yes,
And it's amazing. But you think about how, dietitians, PTs, we're actually working in hospitals oftentimes, or we're accepted within a medical practice, like a hospital. So I think it's a true testament to the PT world that they're doing something right, which is
yeah,
really great. And that to me means a lot as an athlete. I've needed plenty of PT in my history, and also as a dietitian, just knowing that they understand physiology the same way that dietitians do, which is crazy
yep.
that some people don't when it's all the same.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because I really appreciate PTs on many levels.
Well, welcome you two. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves and help us get to know you a little better.
Carrie, step in.
All right. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Carrie Trubenbach, and I thank you for the warm welcome, Annie and Nicole, especially giving us the extra credit that we deserve for knowing physiology as well as you nutritionists do.
Heck yeah.
So thank you very much. So Synchrony Physical Therapy. Well, I'll give you a little background on myself really quickly, just to give you some perspective, I guess. I'm from Wisconsin. I was a student athlete growing up, and that got me interested in healthcare and doing something like active, but not quite as intense as medicine per se. So I became interested in physical therapy as a career pretty early in high school, and fortunately, I made that decision and actually stuck with it and liked it. Went to school in Boston at Boston U, ran on the track and cross country teams there. So I had that nice experience all the while as well. Came back after all was said and done and have practiced in the Milwaukee area basically for my career in clinical practice of orthopedic sports medicine, mostly outpatient. A lot of time spent in clinic in sports settings, which I loved. This led to a little segue into academics, where I spent about 10 years of my career, which was also a really enjoyable time. The teaching part was awesome. The administrative part was less awesome for me, which led me back to the clinic.
Right.
And I knew, though, I needed to, if I was going to step back into that space, I wanted to do it a certain way. Like I had seen too much and felt I knew too much, whether I do or don't, but I knew I wanted to kind of approach it differently. I had the great pleasure of working with Kathy during my time in academics. And so at some point, actually January 2020, and a little earlier for Kathy, fall of 2019, I guess, yeah. We kind of quit daydreaming and like put our money where our mouth is and said, okay, well, if we're going to do this, like, let's do it already. So that is how SynchronyPT came to be.
Very cool.
So scary.
Yeah.
Very
I
cool.
love it.
Yeah.
Right. We
It's
took the
really
big
cool.
step.
Yes.
step.
So, yes. So my pathway was maybe fairly similar to Carrie's. I had a little bit of an earlier intro maybe to the physical therapy profession. I had two cousins who were, yeah, they were handicapped. And so I grew up with that. And that was very normal and natural for me. I was around them all the time. So that was my intro. And then my love for sports and the outdoors also just kind of helped me be very interested in kind of how the body worked and just how things were with the healing of the human body and things like that. And I loved biology and science, and those things all just kind of melded together for me in physical therapy. So I went to University of Wisconsin La Crosse. I was a student trainer there, worked with many, many athletes, many runners, the track and cross country teams, and girls volleyball. And after my time there, I came to Wisconsin. So spent many years in outpatient therapy, still there now, and really enjoy sports medicine and the whole aspect of helping people be the best they can be in their particular field. So met Carrie in academics, love teaching, and I think we just kind of hit it off and have the same philosophy about where we want to go and how we want to treat. And here we are. So
That's great. That's great. What is your philosophy, by the way, for your business, since you brought that up?
I can start out and Carrie can add in as we go on. I mean, I think we were interested in doing an alternative model to the traditional. Still want to provide really high quality care that kind of allows us to step outside of maybe the traditional pathway and kind of use the partner relationship with the patient, really include them in some of the decision making and helping them to understand how their body works and maybe what's not going quite right with it, but what their strengths might be, and ask them what their strengths might be, and then kind of be their partner in helping them and guide them move forward and where they want to go. So maybe more of a working together and model, and not having to be so focused on being responsible to other people, but just being responsible to our patients and to ourselves.
Nice. Nice.
Like it. I'm in full agreement with all of this. And I also, Nicole, earlier when you said, like, or I think Annie or Nicole, I think it might have been Nicole, everybody needs a PT, right? Like, or everybody
Yeah.
needs PT.
Yeah.
I obviously am biased, but I believe that as well.
Mhm.
And more than that, everybody needs a PT, like their
Yeah.
PT.
Mhm.
And we like the concept of, as Kathy said, we kind of stepped away from sort of your traditional healthcare model. We are, out of network or a non-insurance clinic. And that was, in a sense, a little bit important in our design. It's not to exclude people or make it hard for them to receive services or work with us, but really to almost direct the type of client to us that we're hoping to model, right? Like it's more of like a lifestyle thing. Like
Mhm.
we're looking for people that are really motivated, that are actually seeking physical therapy and seeking a particular physical therapist that's going to, be, like Kathy said, their partner, interact, and work together to develop what they need at any given time, not dictated by any constraints, really just optimizing what they're looking for, and helping them do that, like as a shepherd, as opposed to like telling them what they have to do
Yeah.
and when and how, but like figuring out how that's going to work for them in their life.
That's awesome.
And I think part of our other philosophy too is, and part of what really helped me feel comfortable with Carrie and having her as a business partner, is that I think we both have a lot of experience, but I think beyond that, we both feel very committed to maintaining and learning more all the time, and trying to be better, and trying to stay on top of the research, and trying to be, very focused in on how we can still stay on top of the game. So we both really feel that's very important.
Absolutely. I mean, true sign of passion, commitment, and desire to serve. That's wonderful. That's awesome. What would you say is kind of your favorite thing to treat? If you have to treat anything, what could you do all day long? Is there one thing?
Carrie, you want to go first?
Well, I think probably hands down for me, I really do enjoy working with athletes, in particular running athletes. And I guess really what I've come to realize is that's sort of why I went into PT. And when you go into your profession, most people are really encouraged to just become a generalist, know as much as you can, figure it out. You don't know what you might like. And it's true. I do believe that. I've seen many a student say, I want to do this, and they go on a clinical experience and they're doing something totally different.
Right.
So totally, I am open to that. However, I keep coming back to this. And so this has always been my area of interest. So it's the area where I do the most work. I'm kind of most passionate about it. So treating like the running athlete. But if we're talking like just situations and so on, probably another area that I like, regardless of how it happened, is working with tendon pain and tendinopathy.
Oh, wow.
I find it sounds boring. It's super tricky. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of art related to that science, and more research about it. So I find it kind of fascinating in terms of how different people respond to what we would all recognize as a similar condition. Like if I say Achilles tendon pain or Achilles tendinopathy, most people know what that is, but no two cases are alike. And so I like that challenge.
It's cool.
So for me, I would probably say I enjoy looking at the body as a whole. But for me, I would probably say what we call the lower quarter, which includes the foot, ankle, knee, hip, and then that pelvic complex that all work together so pretty much intimately that I find it hard to look at them separately. So I might be treating one particular body part in that chain of things, but I have to look at all of those parts together.
Yep.
So for me, it would be what we would call lower extremity or lower quarter. I'm very interested in that. So that does relate a lot to running, but also to people who are walking and doing any other lower extremity sports activities also.
Yeah.
So that would be something for me. I mean, I remember I went to a course my first year out of school, and the person at the front of the room said, everything's connected. And I thought, oh, that's so simplistic. And then after my first year, I was like, okay,
yeah,
now I can eat those words.
It's so true. It's so true. And I know I can say too, when I'm even working with a client, they'll just be like, I feel this over here. And I'm like, yeah, I have a feeling though it's coming from this area over here though, just because of that deferred pain and whatnot. So yeah, it's totally, I mean, I can know that on myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Gosh.
Right.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. So I think the other piece that that I really love talking about is the connection between and really when I'm working with anybody, it could be an athlete recovering from an injury, it could be just a client of mine who had a recent surgery, anything like that at all, at how important nutrition plays in anybody's healing, no matter, like I just said, simple injury or massive surgery. It's kind of all the same thing. So I find it just imperative that nutrition be more optimal even during those times. And I'm just wondering if you have seen that within your practice between different clientele. Again, I know you're not dabbling in that piece, but I know it may pop up in conversation. that what you may or may not see with in response to nutrition and healing.
Yeah, so I think, from my perspective, especially with the way it's affected me and some of the patients I've seen is with more active individuals, maybe their lack of nutrition or maybe some misinformation, which I know you guys have talked about
Yeah.
many times.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
That a lot.
So maybe that misinformation about proper nutrition has affected my patients and their ability to return, I would call it maybe safely to activity,
Sure.
or maybe as quickly as they could to activity. So I think that affects my more active individuals on their return.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Carrie.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that I think because of the volume of information that people have at their disposal, right? This is a double-edged sword.
Definitely.
And because of it, I think there's a lot of preconceived notions. And sometimes when you're working with any spectrum of injury and necessarily sometimes like a more, I'm going to say like a higher level performer or somebody that's been really trying to be in tune with their performance levels and so on. And then they have an injury and that kind of throws them for a loop in all aspects of everything. So trying to account for that kind of like holistic sense of things. And sometimes we can be getting back to things like strictly on a physical level and we'll hit like a little plateau. And it's not uncommon that just digging a little deeper about what's maybe going on in the recovery process, there could be other concerns that are paramount or that are necessarily contributing to this plateau. And commonly it is nutrition. I think when people get injured, they begin to eat differently, whether from the, or not at all, right? Like, yeah, like I've had
Especially
people say, oh, yeah, I'm gonna eat less because I'm not working as much, I'm not working out as much.
And the metabolic rate that when you're injured, you need to be eating. It's, I mean, it's just, again, going back to the comment you made about misinformation, it's, when we on the whole, to tangent just a little, when we talk about people in your practice not eating right and not recovering and not during injury and stuff like that, and they're not having the proper nutrition, I think people hear that and they think, well, I eat healthy, so I'm fine. But then you have to remember, majority of those quote unquote healthy eaters are not having any cow's product whatsoever. So they're missing dairy on the whole, and therefore they can't figure out why they keep having these fractures all the time. And it's stuff like that where it's like proper nutrition for an athlete and for anyone means getting in, your 3 servings of dairy, which is not in the form of a nut like almonds.
Sure.
You got to get those essential vitamins and minerals in. And I think that's a piece that, Carrie, when you say like, people aren't getting the proper nutrition, I think a lot of people just shut you down. Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Think that they're the great eater because they're vegan or vegetarian or no lactose or gluten or whatever they perceive as healthy. And that's the problem, is they shut it down immediately and forget that, like, for how many years, decades, dairy has been proven to help our bones, and yet runners here drink almond milk and then that's what they do. It's like,
or not enough of almond milk.
or
there's
not
that
enough,
too, because like a non-dairy substitute
a
can work, but getting enough of it, absolutely.
And they're too concerned of the calories or the and so they end up many athletes are very there's just such poor nutrition on the grand scheme, but they think they're healthy,
right?
And so I assume you guys run into that quite often.
Yes, I would say yes. On the whole, yes. I mean, and it's kind of like not obviously our area of expertise to say, let's break this down. Like, what are you actually taking in a day and stuff? But I mean, there are some simple things that we might ask about, like, are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough hydration? And it's like, even those things, that's grossly underestimated. So like you're saying, I think people have a sense that they're doing right by their body. And when the circumstance of injury happens, that might need to change, like the game might need to be upped, and they aren't prepared for that. And that definitely becomes, or can become, an impediment to the whole process of getting better.
Yeah.
And that goes back partially to part of our philosophy. We're not just treating a body part. We're treating the entire person. And by that, I mean, we're not just talking about what's happening at your joint. We want to know what's going on in your life. And we kind of need to know that because that affects other things, your healing rate and things like that. So, good point for the nutrition.
Yeah.
I feel like we talk about that too, Nicole, where it's, like we were talking about the other day, majority of our consults are not about food. It's about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's therapy. It's what's in your life that's happening.
It's true.
And I mean, I know when I've gone in the past to my PT for some needling, we're figuring out what's going on, like just in life. And it's like, you wonder how much of that plays a role in whatever's going on. I mean, it does.
It
Plays
a lot.
Right. And again, we want to reiterate, activity and exercise, sports, that is stress.
Yes.
So again, it's not only are you seeing a PT because you maybe have this injury, which is stress, but then you've got all the other stress in your life that's going on too. And it's good to know those things. It's good to have your clients tell you those things. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I like the line that's like stress equals stress equals stress, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Yeah, my shoulder hurts. It's probably because I threw like too many baseballs this weekend with my son out in the yard. Okay, but why does your shoulder keep hurting? Because you quit doing that and we're doing PT now. Like, so are there other things going on in your workday or wherever that are causing stress and are impacting this and other parts of your life, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Balance. We talk so much about that nutritionally, but it goes into every area physically as well. Oh gosh. Yeah. So you guys have 2 locations, Cedarburg and Wauwatosa, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
Fantastic.
Are you each at one of them or do you flip flop?
No, we are each at one.
Oh, okay.
Much. They kind of opportunistically came up, our ability to kind of have officing space in each of these locations. So our tiny little practice is 2 locations big, but yeah, we're both kind of at one location. I'm in Tosa and Kathy's up in Cedarburg.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you guys have like a kind of a random question, like a top success story that you just love? I know, like in my practice, I can think about some people that really just like, oh my gosh, it was so great. Like the transformation they made or whatever that might be. I'm sure, Annie, you have that same thing based on what you do. So it's just curious.
That's a good question. I
Yeah,
mean, I know lots of things pop into my mind, right?
Yeah.
Do you have one on your mind, Kathy?
I have many over the years of people that have just been impactful and that you don't think you're going to be able to maybe necessarily help. And maybe you don't even know how much you've helped them until much later on, and they may or may not come back and say something to you. I guess for me, just right off the top of my head, without thinking about this much, would be a back patient that I had a number of years ago who actually had a drop foot and ended up coming out of that okay without needing surgery. And for me, that was just very humbling. He was, this patient was a great partner. So, that's a lot of what happens is you work together and good things happen. It's not all about me or the other person or whatever. It's it's about working together. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was an impactful patient.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anytime
Mhm.
somebody can avoid surgery, just because
Mhm.
they, did some work and work together with, like how cool is that?
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's fun to watch. I have a number of patients kind of images in my mind right now. This made me think of it, Kathy, with the surgery piece, where a lot of people that come into therapy with a shoulder problem, let's say a rotator cuff tear,
Mm.
a meniscus tear in their knee, and um, sometimes surgery is kind of optional there, or often it is, but once the word surgery is put out there, a lot of people are kind of have that in their mind that that's ultimately what's going to happen. And frankly, as a therapist, although we might have an opinion that probably you don't need surgery, really, we don't have control over that, because this
Right.
can go one way or the other depending on, again, that partnership and what you're able to build with the patient, whether you're able to kind of develop the motivation and the compliance and all those pieces to make sure that that outcome is best for them and that it's a conservative outcome. So it is always nice, satisfying, to just be able to help someone along in that journey and watch them kind of like surprise themselves
That's
and
cool.
surprise us too sometimes, but surprise themselves like with what they can do, what they can get away with when they were really kind of facing a decision that they didn't want to have to make, whether it be an injection, a surgery, or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have you guys make sure that you get the specific information that we need to tell everybody on how they can contact you. But I know you guys are on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yes, our Facebook page is just, you can find it at SynchronyPT.
Okay.
So we're
Very
there.
good.
We have a website, which is actually going to be new and improved soon, but
Cool.
it's totally operational right now. And it's www.synchronypt, all one word.com. And that's a great place to go because we have like a little contact form there. So people, if they're interested in or have questions, just simply have some questions, they can fill out that form and we'll contact them through email and phone call if needed. But all of our contact information in terms of phone numbers and direct email are right on that website as well.
Awesome.
At synchronypt.com.
Super, super. And
Yeah.
any final messages that you want to leave with our listeners?
I think just we're super interested in helping you be your best self. And I know that sounds very trite, but we really are interested in helping partner with you in working forward in your goals and what you would like to achieve. So that's my message.
Love that.
Yay.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that message. It's true. And the other thing is, I would urge people, if you're interested or you're not sure, or you're like, what does PT do for me? Like, don't hesitate to reach out because we're happy to
Right.
to speak with you, you know, for free, right? Just to talk about what your concerns might be, and if PT is a good fit for you, and further, if PT with us is a good fit for you, or maybe we know
Right.
somebody else that could help you. So I invite people to do that too if they have questions. So.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. And before we finish up for the day, we always like to ask what your favorite foods are.
Oh, gosh.
Favorite food. First
Do they
thing
have
that
to
comes
be
to mind.
healthy?
Say that
No.
Do
again?
they have to be
We're just-
healthy?
No, it's just
No.
favorite food. All
Give
food is
me two.
healthy.
Avocado and dark chocolate.
Wow.
Oh, together or separate?
No, separate. Absolutely separate.
Great.
Thanks,
That is
Annie.
great.
Yeah, you bet.
First that comes to my mind is pizza. That's like a
Fine.
simple answer for me.
I mean, you can't go
pizza.
wrong.
I mean, just
Yeah.
think of all the things you can put on there. Yes.
Yeah.
And fold it, or just it's flat, or it's
Cut it.
bundled and then inside of something. I love it.
Yes.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
That's so great. Well, thank you too. This was really, really fun and informative, and I hope our listeners end up contacting you at least just to chat. I think that's great. So
Mhm.
thank you
Thank you
both.
guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
you're so
Yes.
welcome.